Voskadab Internet. This is Corey, the lead developer for HackTab, with a video introduction on how to use this Chrome extension. HackTab is a Chrome extension that allows you to test for SQL Server injection, cross-site scripting, local file inclusion directly from your Chrome web browser. This allows you to integrate your security testing right into your normal development process. The extension is designed to be used by QA, web developers, or also software pen testers. To use the tool, simply install the Chrome extension directly from the Chrome store, or you can go to HackTab.com. Click on the HackTab logo right at the top. That'll take you to the Chrome store. When you have a web page that you want to test, simply click on the HackTab control panel logo that will appear in your URL bar. From here, you can select the domain that you want to target. This is a regular expression. If you're already on the tab that you want to target, you can simply click to select this domain, and the regular expression will be written for you that targets that domain. Or if you want to, you can write your own regular expression to target any other domains. Before HackTab will actually start working and looking at the web requests going between your web browser and the server, to be able to recreate those requests on the fly, you have to enable the extension. Okay, that will turn the shield blue. Okay, if that shield isn't blue, the Chrome extension isn't recording any of your transactions. It's not monitoring anything. It's not understanding the requests that are going back and forth to be able to recreate and create those tests. Okay, so that's an easy way for you to know exactly what's happening with the software. Once it's been enabled for the domain, simply refresh the page and the HackTab will open. What I like to do when I'm testing is use the feature that I'm going to test completely from end to end, all the different parts. So this CRUD application, and for those who don't know, CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, and Delete Operations, allows us to basically manage a list. You can add items to the list and delete items to the list. So we can add a new item to the list. We can create that. The element's been added to the database, and we can view the list, and we can see our new item here. This also allows us to delete items. We can click on the X and delete an item, and now it's been removed. Okay. If we go back to our HackTab, we see here is a list of hosts that we have data for. Right now there's one host in the list. We can select that, and it'll show us all the URLs for that host. Right now there's one URL, which is the CRUD URL, and we can select that and it'll show us all the parameters. These shield icons here indicate the number of unrun tests. So in this case we have 12 tests that haven't been run. That's based on 4 input parameters here and 3 tests that have been selected. If we select another test like the MS SQL injection, then our update, the number of untested parameters changes. If you already know what the remote web server database is, like MySQL database, don't ever check the MS SQL database. These are database specific tests, okay, that exploit benchmark and sleep functionality. It's only available in those databases to allow us to test for SQL injection without creating fully correct URL. This allows us to do blind SQL injection testing without having to pull data back and have to do like a union select, guess the number of parameters, or some other difficult thing like that. This allows us to test much more efficiently because we don't have to send as many requests. We only need to escape or create escape a double quote or a single quote, or create a syntax error for the test to work successfully. Okay. Once you have your things selected, I recommend you create an account. This is a new feature for HackTab that allows you to save projects. So if you're creating a new account for the first time, enter your email address. We'll enter root at protectlogic.com. Create a password. We'll use and then click the new account button. And then click create account. If that works successfully, you'll be immediately logged in, and all of the logged in features will work. Only logged in users are able to test hosts, an entire host at a time or an entire URL at a time. If you're not logged in, you can test individual parameters. And this also allows us to save projects. We'll save this new project, call it CRUD, and we'll click on the floppy disk. And now we can load that. It's right here. Okay, we can always come back to this and it'll load in the exact same state. All the tested parameters, all the vulnerabilities, everything will load exactly as we saved it. So once we have all of our parameters entered, we may need to configure some things. Now, this particular endpoint is a single endpoint, and it has this mode parameter that has 3 modes: view, add, and delete. Okay, what we want to do is test all these parameters with each one of these values. So we're going to change the parameter type to mode. And what that's going to do is whenever HackTab sends a request, it's going to send the request with mode equals view, mode equals add, and mode equals delete. If your parameter isn't entered as mode, HackTab will only send the request for the first value it saw in that place. So for instance, the element name parameter has seen the new item value. So no matter how many other values we sent for this parameter, the test would only ever test new plus item, unless it was testing this individual parameter, in which case it would send the payload for the test for this parameter. So we have one other thing to configure here. This is a Csurf parameter. And this Csurf parameter, it's a cross-site request forgery parameter, is a value that needs to be read off the previous web page and submitted. Okay, this website has Csurf protection. If we view the page source and scroll down, we can see that each one of these delete links has a special Csurf token associated with it. Okay, and if the remote application doesn't receive this value on the post, it will not accept it as valid. Okay, we get a Csurf token mismatch. So what we need to do is we need to first request this view page, and we need to write a regular expression to pull this value out, and we're going to send it in the Csurf parameter. Now, in order to do that, what we want to do is we want to send a value, and we'll go ahead and inspect here so you can see this. We'll go ahead and not capture screenshots, but we will preserve the log. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a request that sends a Csurf parameter. This particular application has 2. Mode equals add and mode equals delete both send a Csurf token. So we're going to go ahead and delete the one-armed man. Okay, that sends this request right here with this Csurf token. Okay. Now if we come back to HackTab and we select the Csurf parameter, these are the values it's sent. And if we select volatile data, okay, volatile data is data that needs to be read from another page. It's data that's dynamic and needs to be read for every test. We select volatile, and what's going to happen is the HackTab knows that this was the last value that was sent, and it knows the last page that was requested. So it's going to go ahead and request that page for us and look for this string in that page, and it'll write a regular expression for us to extract it. Okay, now in this case, what it's done is it's found that parameter and it's written the regular expression to extract that. But we have a little bit of extra data in here. We don't know that we're always going to have data ID equals 211 in front of this. So we're going to go ahead and delete that. And we're going to delete this information after. All we really want is data-csrf equals, and we want whatever's inside those 2 quotes. Okay? That's the only parameter that we want. So we're going to leave this regular expression like this. And we're going to go ahead and save that. Now, because the Csurf value is marked as volatile, whenever we send a test for anything on this URL, it's going to go ahead and request, let's just go ahead and flip that back. It's going to request this URL, and it's going to look for this regular expression right here. Okay? This one that we save. So let's go ahead and do that. Now this URL is completely configured. Okay? We can come up here, select the host, make sure our tests are correct. We have MySQL injection, reflected cross-site scripting, and local file inclusion. And we can just test the entire host. We'll see the outstanding tests. We can see the values are starting to come back. This loading icon will stay here until the tests are complete. You'll see the number of outstanding tests bounce around as we add. As it finishes one test, you'll see the number of, as it finishes one plugin, it'll have 17 or 20 tests will run for that plugin. That number will drop down to 0. It'll move on to the next one. And you can see the rest of the interface will update. The number of untested plugins will drop from I think our previous value was 12. It'll drop down to 0. And as you can see, this red X now is a value of 3. That means there's 3 vulnerabilities that's been found on this host. So we click into the URL. We can see there's 3 vulnerabilities in this URL. And there's 1 vulnerability on each one of these parameters. You can see the mode parameter passed all 3 of our plugins: cross-site scripting, local file inclusion, and MySQL injection. The element name failed cross-site scripting. We can see that the parameter contains a potential cross-site scripting flaw in the HTML near byte 59 because the space and equals characters are not encoded correctly. Okay, the way this works is this sends a string with the different HTML entities that should be encoded correctly through, and it checks for how the page that displays that content encodes those values, and it wants to make sure they're HTML encoded. If they're not HTML encoded, it will fail the plugin. Your server may have, or the server that you're testing may have HTML filtering in place where it strips out JavaScript, such as script tags or on error events, on mouse events, from the HTML markup, and allows you to put in some HTML markup that doesn't contain JavaScript. This plugin doesn't test for how accurate your HTML filtering is. It only detects that you're correctly filtering HTML entities to prevent any type of HTML injection. Okay. Csurf plugin fails the local file inclusion plugin. This is the sample request right here. Mode equals add, element name equals new item, csurf equals Etsy new host. Okay, what this does is this tries to include the Etsy new host file, and then it looks for, on the resultant page, IP addresses and host names. And if it sees IP addresses and host names on the resultant page, we can know that that file's been pulled in. Okay. And the ID parameter we see failed the MySQL plugin. The way this plugin works is it tries to do a benchmark of SHA-1 hashes, and that benchmark should take a few seconds to complete depending on the speed of the server. So in this case, it took 3 seconds for the benchmarks to complete, which is how we know that SQL injection happened. A normal page on the CRUD URL, you can see right here, has a normal response time of 82 milliseconds. So the fact that this benchmark took 3 seconds tells us that benchmark ran. Okay. The way these fields work, this is the standard response size of this response code of 200 has this average response size of 2 kilobytes. Standard response code of 200 has an average response time of 82 milliseconds. And a standard response code of 200 we've seen 5 times. Okay. If this URL were to return 500s or 403s or 302s, we would see those reflected here. So we'd see 302s, the average size of the 302, probably 0 bytes. The average time for a 302 redirect, and we collect all that information, so as we're running our plugins and our tests, we know what an average response is, and we know if the server's misbehaving or if it's failing or passing our plugin tests. Those are all the features. We can go ahead and save this now as the CRUD application. If we close our tab and open it up again, right, you can see now it's completely forgotten about all of our vulnerabilities we found. It only sees 3 parameters here. But if we go to the load, we can load CRUD, and immediately all of our data is saved. So that's how you would use the HackTab application. I'll be adding more videos as we add more vulnerabilities and plugins. If you have some type of security test that you want to see, go ahead and head over to our feedback link and let us know what type of features you'd like to see. If you have any bugs, go to the Chrome extension, report the bug. We're doing weekly releases, so you should see those bugs hopefully fixed relatively quickly. And thanks for watching. I hope you find some use out of the HackTab application. You're able to find some great security vulnerabilities and fix them in your app. Thanks for watching. Bye.